What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another FPL video. My name is Mo, and today I'll be going through my current FPL draft for game week 1, which is only a couple of days away. So I always seem to say to myself, this is my final draft, I'm not going to make any more changes, and I'm going into game week 1 fully confident. But I went on to the game earlier and I thought to myself, let's have a look at some players, let's see how it's looking, and can I add some value to my squad? And guess what? I did indeed. So I've taken 3 players out from the draft that you have on screen, which I showed you in my previous updated draft video, and I've added 3 players in. Now, one of the decisions, I'm on the edge, but I think I've made the right choice going into it, because I think I got it back to my instinct rather than just looking into, big names and ownership in itself. But let's get into the squad in a moment. But before that, if you haven't given us a like, give a like to the video, and if you haven't subscribed to FPL INKLING, hit that subscribe button and be part of the family before the season begins. So let's get my updated draft on screen for you. So this is what it looks like. So the 3 players that I've changed, or that I've brought in, the first one was Matty Cash has been replaced by Kieran Trippier. Now, I've had a look at some of the fixtures of Newcastle. Now, I know I went through in my previous video, and Newcastle have, in the bottom 5 in terms of fixture difficulty, the most difficult fixtures in the first 5 fixtures. But for me, Kieran Trippier is someone that I really admired, whether he was in the Premier League or not in the Premier League. I think he's a really good footballer, and I've seen him play for England, and on set pieces, this guy, when he's on his game, is absolutely deadly, whether that's from corner set pieces or even free kicks. He's absolutely insane. So looking at his fixtures, first 2 fixtures I think are quite friendly for him. Nottingham Forest at home, a promoted club. Now, they may get a reaction or a bounce off from Nottingham Forest, but they're at home. And at Newcastle, the crowd usually lifts them. Going into a new season with the Saudi-backed funds, some really good signings over the summer or even last season, I'd say, during the Christmas period. I think Kieran Trippier sets them up really, really well. He is injury prone, but I think I'll take the chance at the start of the season. So I know they've got Man City in game week 3 and Liverpool in game week 5, but you know what? They're going to play them at some point in the season. So I think it's worth taking a shot, because the game fixtures after that, from game week 6 to 10, do also look quite promising. But we're going to obviously look over till game week 8, which is the kind of international break that we have. But I think generally he's a good pick. He's selected by 16% of managers. And I think we could get some really good returns looking at his, underlying stats, and, the fact that he's a threat from set pieces and how much value he brings to that Newcastle squad. Obviously, you've got St. Maximin, Chris Wood, Gutierrez in the middle. So you've got a lot of players there, that he can target and actually really prosper in the short term at the start of the season. Now, looking at the back line, so obviously I've got Mendy in there, Trent remains in there with Robertson, Cancelo, who's going to be away at West Ham, and then Gabriel, who'll be playing away at Crystal Palace. Salah still remains as captain, and I've kept Saka in my midfield. Now, I've had a look at pre-season, I've had a look at the background stats, and do you know what? I'm just being pushed towards Neto more and more. I know I was looking at Fornells potentially, but Neto for me has kind of caught my eye. He's played really well, a couple of goals, a couple of assists. And looking at his, a couple of fixtures in the first kind of 6 game weeks, barring the Spurs game, he generally has really good fixtures. At 20% ownership, so he's quite favoured by quite a lot of managers at the moment. And at 5.5, I think it's not a bad enabler to bring into my squad. Yes, he only got 22 points last season, but he was injury hit. So we can't really look into too much detail, but I do generally believe that for a forward line player who's going to be involved in most of the goals for Wolves, I know they didn't score much last season, but this is a new season. Jimenez might hit his form back. Adama Traore is back, so let's wait and see. But Neto for me should get the minutes. And at 5.5 million, looking at other players like, Fornells, for example, who's got Man City in game week 1. I think playing Leeds away might be a better fixture overall, which I know it is in comparison. So maybe he could get a few returns and really add some crucial points, I'd say, to my team as a whole. So Neto comes in for Fornells. And then looking at my front line, I've kept Gabriel Jesus. And yes, you're reading correctly. Haaland is no longer in my squad, and I have moved over to Harry Kane. Now, Haaland's ownership is about 58.6%. When I originally got him in a couple of weeks ago, his ownership was around 64%, something insane along those lines. But his ownership is now slowly decreasing. Now, there's a few reasons for that. He might have a niggle, according to Pep Guardiola at the start of his last press conference. So he got a few minutes against Bayern Munich, and he got a goal as well. Now, the only thing that I'm thinking of at the moment is Harry Kane. People say traditionally he's a slow starter. If you look at his last 4 seasons, barring last season, in the first 4 games, he's got returns in pretty much every other season. The lowest he got was 2, and I think one of the seasons he got 3, and the other he got 4. But I know he had an issue last season because he wanted to get his move to Manchester City. So obviously he didn't play the first game. He was not even in the team, and then he was on the bench for game 2. So we can't really use that as like any form of stats itself. But generally last season, 17 goals, 11 assists. This guy's an FPL, I'd say overall he's an FPL kind of icon or a must-have, as people refer to in the community. He's generally part of the whole setup for the goals that come through for Spurs. So I can go through some stats. Last season they scored 61 goals, Spurs as a team, and he was part of 28 of them in terms of some form of contribution. So him and Son have the major contribution. He's on penalties as well, guaranteed. Again, we're expecting Haaland to be on penalties, but again, there's no guarantee that he'll be taking the penalties. But at least with Kane, he's going to be playing regular minutes. Barring that one sub appearance he made, the rest of the 36 games he started, he was available and fit to play. So that kind of shows to me that he, gets the minutes. It's Mr. Reliable. And with Man City, will Haaland potentially be rotated? Maybe later on in the season when the games pile up. But at the start of the season, no Europe, just a weekly game, he should get the minutes in as well. I think what kind of really tilted me over was the fixture. Playing Southampton in game week 1 at home, I think there's going to be a real buzz around Spurs because they've made some really good signings like Perisic. I know Richarlison isn't talked about as much, but at least they've got some backup on the bench in terms of some kind of firepower up front. Will it affect Harry Kane's minute? I don't think so. It should be more like a Kulusevski who might get like the kind of rotation minutes. But I think, the Southampton fixture, the more I look at it, the more I thought to myself, I just can't ignore it. Obviously, in game week 2, we'll look at Haaland here. He's got Bournemouth at home. It's going to be his first home fixture that he's going to be playing, so he's probably going to be unleashed to his fans. Obviously, it's going to be a reaction, so there's a very good likelihood for me that I might have Kane for game week 1 and use my 1 transfer to Haaland for game week 2 because they're, in terms, fixture-wise, he's a very good captaincy option. Even if we compare him to Salah, for example, for game week 2, in terms of who they're playing, let's have a look. They've got Crystal Palace at home, so Salah's not a bad option either. Let's just say, hypothetically, Kane absolutely smashes it in game week 1, gets a brace of returns, so 2 goals and assist or a hat-trick, for example. I may even be tempted just to leave Kane in. Yeah, it might be even a differential. I'm saying that right now, but I think that ownership may change. A lot of FPL experts that I'm listening to, maybe online or in podcasts, they really are backing Kane over Haaland. So this is something which is really interesting, and I'm definitely going to keep an eye out for the ownership of Kane by game week 1, because I think at the moment people are on the fence like I was. But eventually, I've kind of convinced myself that no, I need to back someone who's actually proven themselves in this league over many years, and I think he'll be easily, if he stays in the Premier League, he'll break Alan Shearer's record of goals, and there's no reason why this season Spurs can't take it to another level. They played really well last season near the end, obviously when Conte got his kind of let's say coaching methods and culture and philosophy into the squad, but I really do believe that outside the top 2, Spurs are probably going to be the squad, along with Arsenal, that are going to challenge for the title. Chelsea, I still need to see a bit, and Tuchel, he looks a bit lost at the moment. But I think, a lot of the goals will come through Son and Kane. So that's why I'm going for Kane, because he's $500,000 cheaper than Son, and he's on penalties, and he's the captain of the squad as well. So I've made that decision to get Kane into my squad. But if I look at my squad, and I just think to myself, there is no Haaland, I can't really get over that, to be fair, but I think I look fairly happy with that squad overall. A bit of balance and plenty of goal power in there. Gabriel from set pieces likes to get his head on there. Neto could get me a few goals, but overall, if I look at the whole squad, I've got some really good attacking returns. And on the bench, I've got Andreas, who I know will get minutes. And the other 2 kind of subs, I really, at the moment, I'm not too concerned about, because there's not going to be much rotation. Yes, there's 5 subs rule, so people may get subbed off after 60 minutes. If you're in Pep's case, maybe 58 minutes just to annoy the FPL community. Maybe he just likes to be in the limelight for us, but we just don't know. So I'm really intrigued. But if you look at it from a statistics point of view, out of nearly, there's 3.8 million managers. Let's just round that up to 4 million managers. He's pretty much nearly owned by just under 1 million in terms of managers. So a lot of people are keeping faith in him, and I think he can get off to a really fast start indeed. So that's what my squad looks like for now. The captaincy will remain on Salah, and I'll make Kane vice captain. And I think I've got a real good balance, and I'm, hoping for the best in terms of a start for Kane. If he really does kick it off in the first game week, there might not even be a reason for me to change to Haaland in game week 2. Yes, they're playing Chelsea, but I want to keep an eye out on Chelsea because pre-season, defensively, they've been absolutely abysmal. How will they fare up against Everton? Everton struggled last season, have had a really bad pre-season, lost to teams that I've never heard of in my life. But if they do have a really bad start, maybe Kane might not even be a bad option for game week 2. But it is going to be a tough fixture, Chelsea, because they do turn up for their derby games against Spurs and Arsenal. Maybe I'm looking too much into pre-season, but it's such an easy fix. If I do feel that I want to bring Haaland in for game week 2, I could bring him in and then keep him in for the better fixtures after that. But for just game week 1 right now, I'm going to be sticking to Harry Kane in itself. So that's what my squad looks like, guys. That's my updated draft. So looking into game week 1, fingers crossed, this should give me some really good points and get me off to the start that I'm looking for and get ahead of the race, really, to be fair. Let me know what your thoughts are of this squad. Is this a better squad than what I had last time? Let me know. Is Harry Kane a good choice? Yes or no? Are you going for Kane or are you going for Haaland? Let me know in the comments section. Overall, let me know what your thoughts are and which players you are looking at in terms of your drafts as well. You're more than welcome to put those comments into the comment section, and I can reply back to you guys as well. Not long to go, guys. Let's get these squads finalised and let's make our final decisions quickly, because before we know it, the deadline will be amongst us. So before that, hit that subscribe button, be part of FPL INKLING, tell your friends and family about it, let them know, and please let them know to watch the videos, and please do subscribe as well. Hit the like button, and if you haven't subscribed yet, and if you haven't gone to our league code itself, it's on my screen below my camera. Join the FPL INKLING League. Let's have a great season. Let's have a great start. And I'll be back with some more content very soon. Till then, take care, and I'll see you soon.